When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hi guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future videos and updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. This is the arrival of Brightburn, Part 0, the death and rebirth of a villain, Part 2 out of 2. Let's continue where we last left off in our story. Deku teleported right behind All For One. As he's in midair, as he swung, or getting ready to swing his scythe, ready to chop down All For One in half. As All For One sensed the incoming danger, his danger sense was triggered. He immediately spinned around and used one of his quirks that he acquired many years ago by transforming his entire right arm into a long blade, blocking the ice scythe from injuring him. Deku immediately backed off as he avoided a charging All Might as the #1 hero struck the ground where Deku was once standing. As Deku slid to a stop, I see you're quite limber on your feet, old man. Most impressive. I almost didn't sense you there. And that probably wouldn't have been good for me. What do you say, my eternal rival? We temporarily team up to deal with this youngster and beat some respect into him? After all, he is out to kill not just me, but you as well. Deku allowed them to continue this conversation instead of interfering. He's quite curious what the #1 hero would say if he would actually team up with his most hated rival to try to kill him. Have you lost it, All For One? The mere thought of me teaming up with you disgusts me to my core. But you do bring a valid point. Very well. We will temporarily team up to take out this villain. But when this is over, we'll continue where we last left off. No doubt you will, All Might. Are you two done with your little team meeting? But I think it's time we move things along. As Deku deactivated activated his communicator device in his ear and ordered his people. This is Deku. You know what to do. After his subordinates got their orders, as they activated all the nuclear devices by the master control in his base, one after another. All of the nuclear devices across Japan and in their most major cities begin the countdown before the nuclear devices go off. What are you plotting, boy? You'll find out real soon. Unfortunately, gentlemen, you don't have an infinite amount of time. So, I suggest you hurry. After all, the clock has finally begun to count down. Think of this as sudden death. Deku used his psychic energy to spread throughout his entire body as his green eyes begin to glow bright green. As All for One and All Might could see a slight green aura around the outline of his body. Then Deku disappeared by teleporting. When he reappeared, the moment he reappeared, he slammed his fist into All for One's face, sending the number one villain flying backwards. Deku spun around to see a leaping All Might and simply teleported away, then reappeared behind All Might. Before All Might could find out where Deku is, Deku landed a kick into All Might's back, sending him flying into several street lights. Deku wasn't done. He created several exploding green fireballs and shot them towards both of his opponents. Half of the fireballs went towards All Might, and the other half went flying towards All for One. As there was multiple green explosions erupting upon the street, sending the two of them even further into their own buildings because of the force of the explosion. To Deku's surprise, All Might was the first one to recover from the exploding fireball. As All Might charged forward, Deku extended his arms outwards with his palms extended, pointing towards the number one hero, as Deku tried to use his telekinesis to slow his momentum. To his shock, the hero is pushing through his telekinesis as he officially extended his other hand outwards towards All Might with his palm extended, trying to pull in more power, applying more pressure with his telekinesis. Not only did the number one hero give me a second, guys. Deku, noticing the number one hero is just pushing through his resistance, he pulled All Might towards him, surprising the number one hero. Deku met the number one hero with a powerful spin kick on the side of his face. Then Deku noticed All Might was favoring the right side of his body. Deku noticed that and sent All Might away with a telekinesis psychic blast that he created in a wide area, creating some space between himself and the number one hero. Deku is not deluded enough to believe he can match the number one hero with pure strength. All Might is still a monster when it comes to his superior strength. He might be able to strengthen his body with his psychic energy that he generates with his telekinesis, but taking a solid smash on any power scale from the number one hero would be very unadvised of him to do so. Even with his abilities enchanted in his current state, he can't keep this state up for long. Generating this much psychic energy to boost his skills, like his physical strength, speed, reflexes, does take a toll on his body for a long period of time. But when he was about to attack once again, All for One came out of nowhere and grabbed him by the face, gripping onto his face with his hand, trying to steal his quirk. Got you. Your quirk is mine. To All Might shock and All for One surprise, Deku didn't seem to be bothered. The moment when All for One tried to steal his quirk, something happened that surprised even All Might and All for One. The moment he tried to feel the familiar feeling when he steals a quirk, he tried to pull that feeling towards him. Something happened when he tried. He did not expect the quirk itself to fight back, and giving a number one villain a powerful psychic attack, blasting a number one hero away, and the villain, all for one, with a psychic energy shockwave that even pushed All Might back from his distance. All for one struggled to get to his feet as blood begins to ooze out of his ears, nose, and mouth from the psychic attack he just was assaulted by. How? I don't understand. Why can't I take your quirk? Explain. Deku only chuckled and smirked at the number one villain in Hero. You're about to die. Anyway, so I suppose I could give you the information that you desire, all for one. It's quite simple. I've been preparing this battle for quite some time, not just with you, all for one, but with you as well. All Might, I prepared to fight you as well. But we're getting off topic. I knew one day I would come across you and your abilities to grant and take quirks was going to be a problem. So I eliminated that factor from happening. You see, I wasn't lucky enough to be born with one of these quirks. I won't bore you with all the minor details. I highly doubt you would understand. If I wasn't born with power, like the rest of the world, then I'll just make my own. It took me many years, but I eventually was able to recreate what you call a quirk by copying and upgrading my mother's quirk. It was quite easy just to change a quirk, at least a copied version. It was quite easy to change the copy of my mother's quirk only to pull object towards yourself into a full-blown telekinesis quirk, and I modified it to prevent things like this from occurring. I combined the upgraded copy version of my mother's quirk and infused it with my inactive and undeveloped quirk gene. And the results speaks for itself, preventing you from taking my ability. All for one listened to his explanation. All for one wasn't disappointed one bit. He wasn't mad at all. He found it amusing. That's why when his explanation ended, All for one only gave him a smirk. They might be fighting on two different sides of things, but he could still respect the boy for his cleverness and his pure intelligence. If only he tried harder to recruit him, but nevertheless, what done is done. As he gets ready to continue the battle, Deku needs to take out the number one hero first. He knows full well why he's protecting the right side of his body. He knows full well that he was injured from the last major battle he had with All for One, injuring him severely, cutting his time in half from what he can do as a hero. So naturally, he focused targeting his weak spot, force him to either withdraw or go past his limit. Deku spent his time in the shadows, researching on both of his opponents, that he knew one day he would have the battle to the death. So he wasn't prepared for such a conflict. Deku teleported as soon as the hero and villain noticed They were looking around frantically, trying to locate Deku. Once Deku reappeared, he targeted All Might, Old Energy, as he slammed his foot in a kick into the side of his right side of his body, making the number one hero cough up blood from the attack before All Might could do anything else. Well, technically before All Might fist could connect with Deku's face. Deku hovered backwards with impressive speed. He moved fast enough that he moved so fast that they couldn't react fast enough. Suddenly, there was a loud boom noise in the distance as a gust of wind ran through the city, as a humongous mushroom cloud could be seen in the distance as the first nuclear device vaporized one of the big cities of Japan. The fight immediately stopped. It finally begins. What the hell did you do, Deku? I'm cleansing Japan of you people, you heroes, and you villains to oblivion. As he extended his hands outwards, with his back facing the mushroom cloud in the distance, as another mushroom cloud could be seen, going off in the opposite directions in the distance as another city was vaporized by another nuclear explosion. After the second city was hit with a nuclear device, one after another explosions of nuclear potent bombs went off like a chain reaction. You had this planned the entire time, you bastard. Once, All For One was oddly quiet. As All For One finally spoke up, of course he did, my rival. This whole time, he was just biding his time. Exactly, you fools. As powerful that I am, the likelihood of me killing you without any tricks would be very unlikely, and killing you both at the same time would be a taunting task. Most difficult. But I don't have to defeat you to win. I've already won, you idiots. It's only a matter of time before the city is engulfed into a nuclear explosion. Are you fucking kidding me? You're fucking insane. You're gonna die as well. Don't you get it, All Might? He planned this from the very beginning. He plans to die. I could see it in his eyes. But I wonder, why go so far? It's quite simple. I hate this world. I hate this hero society. It's a cancer that needs to be cleansed. I highly doubt my action here today will destroy hero society itself. But you definitely be damn certain I'll shake it to its core. Your pointless battle between villain versus hero was the cause of my mother's death. In simple terms, this is about vengeance, revenge. Me destroying several cities is just a side bonus. But I can't have you get in my way when I'm so close to victory. Suddenly All Might and All For One, suddenly All Might ran out of time and reverted back to his skinny form. Suddenly both of the hero and villain. I read that wrong. Suddenly, both All For One and the skinny version of All Might was pinned down to the ground, forcing them on their knees, as Deku provided a little more pressure with his telekinesis to press their bodies into the ground. Sit back and relax. Enjoy the last few seconds you have, because it's going to be a blast. Unfortunately, you won't see it happen. As he began to shoot ice shards into their bodies. Then immediately after his last ice shard ran into both of the hero and villain, Deku created an ice scythe in the right palm of his hand and slowly walked towards the both of them as the ice scythe is dragging across the street, making sparks as he does so. As he stands right in front of One for All and plunged his scythe into his chest, piercing his heart as he yanked out his ice weapon roughly as blood splattered, as the dead body of All for One fell to the ground dead, as Deku raised up his scythe, getting ready to chop the number one hero head off his shoulders. Please, don't do this. You could stop this. There's still time. Your time has run out, number one hero. Goodbye. As he swung downwards, as the head of the number one hero fly off his body and begin to roll upon the street. As Deku slammed his bloody ice scythe into the ground and began to walk away with his hands behind his back, as he stops moving and stares up in the middle of the sky in a more wide area, as panic begins to erupt from all the panicking civilians in the area. The last thing Deku saw before the nuclear device went off was a bright light, as the entire city was engulfed in a nuclear explosion, as another mushroom cloud could be seen, as all the cities in Japan was ravaged by all the big cities in Japan were ravaged by nuclear explosion. There were many survivors, but not many of them lived because of the radiation poison. Deku used a crude method to make nuclear devices, bombs, polluting where the big cities were once, leaving the whole entire area unlivable for generations. When Deku regained consciousness once again, his green eyes fluttered open. He was completely confused. The last thing he remembered was dying in a nuclear explosion. He doesn't understand why he's alive. He doesn't know why he feels so weak, why he feels so tired, why his hands look so small, how his entire body looks so small compared to his surroundings. Suddenly a woman wearing some sort of strange clothing picked him up. As he finally saw his reflection, he sees himself in his reflection, a baby. He looks like he's about around the age of 1 year old. What the hell? Before he could ponder any further, he fell into a deep sleep. He tried to resist, but eventually his tiredness won out. The last thing he remembered was being carried away, and placed in some sort of small black spaceship. As a small craft blasted off alongside similar crafts, all blasting through the atmosphere. The ships one after another begin to activate their wormhole drive, as several small vessels fly through the wormholes. The specific species that populate this planet is still vastly unknown. This species is quite similar to Kryptonians from the main Earth, and from the Kryptonians from this Earth. But the main difference this species has from the Kryptonians, that these powerful beings are world conquerors. They like to wipe out all intelligent life, all life on the planet. Once the planet is completely conquered under their control, they siphon all of the natural resources, eventually making the planet die. As the wormhole opened up, as Deku's ship was sent flying into the wormhole, then exiting out of it in Earth 3 of the DC universe. As the ship activated stasis, preventing any further aging. As a similar craft was flying right beside him, this specific craft, where inside was the baby Ultraman. As it flew off, following its own course towards the planet Earth, taking another, as Deku's ship took another route. It'll take him longer to get to Earth than the baby Ultraman ship. As the small craft continues to travel through the stars, traveling through a vast emptiness of space, eventually Deku's ship approached the Milky Way galaxy. The ship just passed Pluto. After a few more planets were passed, the ship finally passed Mars. When it finally got to its destination, it was pulled into the planet's atmosphere. As the metal of the ship begins to glow red, eventually getting through the atmosphere, and begins to fly downwards, ready for a crash landing. Harley Quinn of Earth 3 was driving down the abandoned highway between Metropolis and Gotham City. Then something slammed into the ground, not too far away from Harley Quinn's location, forcing her car to lose control and veer off to the side of the road, stopping into a ditch. Harley Quinn got out of her car and kicked the door, frustrated, as she went to see what made her veer off the road like that. It wasn't too far as she began to walk towards the smoke. As she begins to trek through the cornfield until she came upon the crash site. As her eyes widened, seeing a black metal ship of an unknown origin, before she could even formulate a plan, the cockpit of the ship slid open as steam was released, rushing out, blocking the view of whatever's inside. But when the steam finally thinned out and dissipated, she saw a small baby wrapped in a black blanket with green hair and green eyes. Surprising, her babies this young don't have a full head of hair like this one does. By the looks of it, the child's only 1 year old. She gently picked up the small child in her arms. She instantly called some trusted people to transport whatever this spacecraft is to a safe location. If the crime syndicate finds about this, they'll either kill the baby or take the ship. Well, kill the baby, take the ship, or try to mold the child in their image. And she won't let that happen. The fear at the back of her mind, it's nagging her, this child. If this child is anything like Ultraman, having almost godly abilities, this child could either be their salvation or their doom. She just has a nagging feeling about this. She won't know if her suspicions are correct, thinking this small child might be as powerful as Ultraman, given the right amount of time. She'll definitely make sure to get this little guy checked out, to be certain. Eventually, they finally arrive. She was holding a small baby in her arms as they load up the ship in the back of the trailer of the U-Haul. She had to get someone to tow her vehicle out of the ditch later, as she rode in the U-Haul to a isolated old military bunker where she had her home built. As she had the ship transported into the secret storage underneath her property and paid them off to forget what they saw. What am I doing? How am I supposed to take care of this small baby, especially with the crime syndicate has the entire country under their watch? But the alternative is far more terrible. She looked down at the adorable baby, and she has a smile on her face as the baby is fast asleep still. She took the old crib that she kept just in case she ever had her own son or daughter. But with her career as an agent for movie stars, comedians, and so on, she just never found the right person and never had the free time to do so. She'll definitely have to make some adjustments to her life. And she also needs to make sure this little one is examined by someone that's trustworthy, that doesn't have any connections with the crime syndicate. If they get wind of this, they would either kill her, most likely kill the kid, or take it. And the mere thought of them taking the child still scares her. But she'll never leave a child to those monsters. She has plenty enough to live off for several years. She won't stop working entirely, but she'll slow down. And hire a nanny is a necessary thing to have. Luckily for Harley, she has her own staff on hand that's been serving her family and are very trustworthy in her eyes. After she informed with the new addition to the house, one of the maids that has experience taking care of children took responsibility when her mistress is not around, guaranteeing Harley that there's someone there that will take care of him when she's not there. She decided to make a couple of phone calls. The first one she made was to her old client, the Jokester, Earth 3 version of the Joker. It's me. I don't have long. I don't want this call to be tracked. Just in case someone's listening, I need you to come to my estate. We need to talk. As she hung up the phone. 4 years has passed. Deku is 5 years old now. 5 years old once again. He's a bit irritated that he has to go through growing up again. He dreads once again going through puberty once again. He's not looking forward to that. But on the plus side, he's realized his body is quite tough. In fact, he's never been once injured. Hell, he's never bled. He's unsure if his new adopted mother has noticed. She has never brought it up or even heard her talk about it. He knows she's no fool. He's been able to act like a normal 5-year-old around her presence, so his cover is still intact. Last thing he needs is his new adopted mother to be suspicious. There's a couple times he slipped up, but luckily his new mother, Harley, hasn't taken notice. At least, that he noticed. He was relieved when he was relieved when he noticed he still has telekinesis. Not the same when he had before his death. He has to train it to get to the point where he was once. But he's trained with telekinesis quirk in the past, so he knows how to train it. It's going to be a slow process, but when he's finally finished, he'll definitely approve of the results. He noticed he's getting stronger each day, little by little bit. He also wants to test his physical strength more, but he can't when his mother's around, and when she's not. He's always surrounded by the staff, the maids, so he doesn't have the time to test things out. The last thing he needs is the staff to get suspicious as well. That's where we're going to stop it.